I'm Oliver, and what you're about to hear is a glimpse beyond the veil of this world. For years, I've listened to those who died and came back transformed. I share their voices so far, exactly as they told them. These are not fantasies. They are lived truths, encounters with something greater, divine, terrifying, or both. Prepare your soul, because once you've seen what lies beyond death, life is never the same.
If you're ready to walk this journey with me, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. You won't want to miss what comes next.
There are moments that change everything, not gradually, but in a single breath, in a blink, in the space between heartbeats. This is my story. My name is Brooke Elaine Westfield, and on an ordinary Saturday afternoon, something extraordinary happened. I died. For a few minutes, I left behind the world I knew, and what I encountered changed the course of my life forever. This is not just a story about near death. It's a testimony about life, purpose, love, and the divine truth that exists beyond what we can see. Whether you believe or doubt, I invite you to listen with an open heart, because this story, as unbelievable as it may sound, is real. I lived it, and I came back to share it with you. It started like any other weekend. The sky was clear, the air crisp, and my best friend Maddie and I were hiking up Eagle Ridge Trail like we had countless times before. There was no warning, no ominous sign, just the two of us laughing, sharing stories, and pushing each other up the steep inclines. I was 15, a high school sophomore from Colorado, more concerned with volleyball tryouts and biology crushes than with anything as serious as life or death. I'd used my inhaler that morning, a precaution more than anything else. But about 2 miles up the trail, I felt something shift. A tightness in my chest that wasn't normal. It wasn't panic. It wasn't asthma. It felt like the air had thickened and I was trapped inside it. I stopped, put my hands on my knees, and told Maddie I needed to rest. She looked concerned. The next moment, everything went black. People always ask if I felt pain. I didn't. What I felt was a strange release, like floating, like being underwater without the water. My awareness was still there, but my body wasn't. I saw Maddie kneeling beside me, crying, screaming into her phone, her hands pressing down on my chest. But I couldn't move. I couldn't reach her. I wasn't inside my body anymore. I hovered above the scene, watching, unable to help, unable to stop what was happening. But even in that helplessness, there was no fear. Instead, there was a pull, gentle but irresistible, like someone unseen was guiding me upward. It was soft, almost kind, nothing like what I'd imagined death would be. As I rose, the light around me changed. It wasn't harsh or blinding. It glowed, like sunlight filtering through stained glass, soft and warm. Everything physical faded, and I became weightless, thought without form. I felt peace so intense that it replaced every question, every worry. I was moving through something, a tunnel or space, hard to describe, and I wasn't alone. There was an overwhelming sense of presence, not people, not voices, but something, someone, waiting. And the moment I realized that, I emerged into a light so pure, so full of love, it defied everything I thought I knew. That's when I saw him, Jesus. Let me be honest. Before that day, I wasn't someone you'd call religious. I went to church twice a year with my grandmother and spent more time on my phone than reading scripture. But in that moment, standing in front of him, I didn't need proof. I didn't need theology or tradition to tell me who he was. I just knew. He didn't look like the Sunday school pictures. He was radiant, tall, filled with light, and his eyes held every ounce of love in the universe. He looked at me, and I felt completely seen, not judged, but understood. Every flaw, every fear, every mistake, all laid bare. And still, he loved me. When he spoke, it wasn't like sound. It was like his words went straight to my heart, bypassing everything else. He said my name, Brooke, and just that sound made me cry. Not out of sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of being known, really known, for the first time. It felt like I had carried a weight all my life and didn't even realize it until it was lifted. I asked him if I was dead. He smiled, with that same quiet, all-knowing love. "Your body is between worlds," he said, "but I wanted to speak with you." Then, he reached out his hand. When our hands touched, something surged through me. Not electricity, but something even more powerful. Love. Pure, unconditional, unwavering love. It moved through me, filled every empty place I didn't know I had. And then, in a flash, my entire life unfolded before me. Not as a highlight reel, but as a full, vivid account. I saw myself helping a stranger with groceries when I was 8, sitting beside a crying classmate in the bathroom, giving lunch to a homeless man. But I also saw moments I wasn't proud of. Times I'd been mean to my brother, lied to my mom, gossiped about friends. Every choice, every action was there. And through all of it, he never looked away. His love never dimmed. That's when he said, "There's something I need you to see, Brooke. Something important for you to understand and share." And with that, everything changed again. The light around us shifted, and suddenly, we were standing above the earth, not in space, but in a place of perspective, like standing on clouds that were somehow solid, looking down at a living map of the world. He gestured with his hand, and the surface of the earth opened up into visions, events that would come before the year 2030. "I'm not showing you this to create fear," he said, "but to prepare hearts." What I saw next would shake me to my core. The first vision appeared like a living window. At first I couldn't make sense of it. I saw massive bodies of water surging into cities, not just any cities, but ones I recognized. Miami, New York, Tokyo. Streets were filled with waves, buildings half submerged. But it wasn't a natural disaster happening at a distance. I could feel what the people in those cities were feeling. Panic, desperation, grief. It wasn't just water rising. It was the collapse of normal life, the shattering of illusions of control. And yet, even in the middle of the chaos, something else was rising, something more powerful than fear. I saw strangers helping strangers, families opening their homes to those displaced, nations that once stood against each other working together. Jesus stood beside me, watching with eyes full of compassion, and said, "This is the acceleration of what has already begun. The earth is groaning, but even in groaning there is redemption." He explained that what I was seeing wasn't punishment, but consequence. The waters didn't rise because God was angry. They rose because of choices humanity had made over time, neglecting creation, chasing convenience, ignoring warnings. "Island nations will cry out first," he said, "but many shores will follow." The pain would be real. The loss would be real. But so would the awakening. People would begin to realize what truly matters, not possessions or power, but connection, love, community. I watched as churches turned into shelters, as neighbors who'd never spoken before stood hand in hand praying for rain to stop, for help to come. The message was clear. Trials strip us down to the essentials. And sometimes in that stripping, we find each other, and God, in ways we never had before. As the vision faded, Jesus touched my shoulder and said, "There is more you must see." The light shifted again. This time, we hovered over what seemed like entire countries going dark. One by one, cities lost power, screens went blank, satellites failed, phones, computers, all useless. At first, the darkness felt suffocating, like a heavy fog of confusion and fear. But then something surprising happened. With the noise of technology silenced, people began to speak to each other again. Not through devices, but face to face. I saw neighbors sitting on porches playing acoustic instruments, families reading by candlelight, children running through yards, laughing without the glow of tablets. It was like humanity remembered itself. Not everything was easy, far from it, but it was real, honest, raw, beautiful. Jesus turned to me again and said, "The systems man has built have become both tower and crutch. A time is coming when they will falter for a season. What was built on pride will be humbled." And I understood. We had built so much that separated us under the guise of connection. In the silence of those blackouts, something deeper emerged. People began to rely not on programs or algorithms, but on each other. They told stories. They shared food. They prayed, not out of routine, but out of desperate hope. And it worked. The connections weren't virtual. They were eternal. He said, "When the lights of man go out, my light will shine brighter." In the absence of artificial light, people saw divine light more clearly than ever. Then came the third vision, the most painful of all. I saw illness spreading again. Not like COVID, but something deeper, more insidious. People were afraid to be near each other, not just because of contagion, but because fear itself had infected their hearts. I saw suspicion, division, and a loneliness that ran deeper than physical isolation. But beneath it all, I felt something even darker. Jesus explained, this time, fear will be used, not just felt. It will be fed, weaponized to divide, to control, to separate my children from one another. The illness was real, but the greater danger wasn't biological. It was spiritual. And yet once again, there was hope breaking through the cracks. I saw doctors working without rest, nurses holding hands when no family could be near. I saw communities forming quiet circles of care, not in grand displays, but in small, consistent acts of compassion. People brought meals to doorsteps. They sang outside hospital windows. And most powerfully, I saw prayer spreading, not confined to church pews, but rising from kitchens, hospital beds, sidewalks. It moved like a wave, not seen by the eye, but felt in the soul. Jesus looked into me and said, "What you're seeing is not the end. It is an invitation. In these trials, many will find me who never knew me before." He spoke with urgency, but never fear. "Remember this," he said. "It's not the disaster that defines the time. It's how hearts respond." Then he showed me something that felt impossible to describe. A massive structure of light, alive, vibrant, pulsing with motion. Threads of gold connected everything, forming patterns too intricate for the human mind to process. "This," he said, "is the network of prayer." Each golden thread represented a single sincere prayer. I watched as he reached out and touched one. It glowed with brilliance and sent waves of light through the others, connecting with thousands more. "This," he said gently, "was your prayer for Zoe." I gasped. I had prayed for her when she was struggling with depression. I didn't think it mattered. I hadn't seen anything change. But here now, I saw how it had strengthened her, moved her mother to check on her, inspired her counselor, even softened my own heart. I wept, not out of guilt, but awe. One small prayer had become a lifeline across space and time. Jesus continued, "In the times to come, prayer will not just be important, it will be essential." I understood then that every moment we spend in sincere prayer is never wasted. It reaches places we may never see, touches lives we may never know. And in that moment, he told me something I will never forget. Even a whisper from the heart echoes across heaven. I realized that part of what I had to share with the world wasn't just what I had seen, but what I had felt. That love, real love, divine love, is always listening, always responding, even when we can't see it yet, even when we doubt, even when we feel alone. He let me stand in that chamber of light for what felt like eternity. Not because he needed me to understand more, but because he knew I needed time to absorb what I'd just seen. The truth was overwhelming. Not in a painful way, but in the way sunlight can be too bright when you first open your eyes. Everything he had shown me, the floods, the blackouts, the sickness, the prayers, they all pulsed with a deeper message. "None of this is punishment," he told me again softly. "These are not things I'm doing to humanity. They are consequences of the path humanity has chosen, but I can use them. I can redeem even this." I looked at the golden threads around us, still glowing, still connecting, and I understood something I'd never grasped before. That divine love does not control, it invites, it offers, it calls. He walked with me through that space of light, and as we moved, I could feel layers of my old self falling away. Fear, ego, pride, insecurity. They didn't belong in that place. They couldn't survive in the atmosphere of love that surrounded me. He paused, turned to face me, and looked directly into my soul. There was no hiding. "Brooke," he said, "you must understand. What I've shown you isn't for you alone. I didn't bring you here just for comfort. I brought you here to send you back." I froze. My heart, or whatever part of me still felt like my heart, ached at the thought. I didn't want to leave. Not because I feared life, but because I had never felt so whole, so safe, so known. I whispered, "Please let me stay." He smiled, and there was so much love in that smile it broke me open all over again. "You will return," he said, "but you will not return empty. You will carry what you've seen, what you've felt. You will help prepare hearts not in fear, but in hope. I asked him, prepare for what? He didn't answer in prophecy or riddles. He simply said, for love, for connection, for truth. Because what is coming will shake the earth, but it will also awaken it. And I believed him. I believed him because I had seen the world through his eyes, not as a failing planet or a doomed society, but as a beloved creation, lost and confused, but still redeemable. He told me the most important preparation wasn't food or batteries or bunkers. It was heart preparation, compassion, resilience, faith. That's what will carry people through, he said. That's what will lead them home. I asked how I would know what to say, how to say it. I told him I was afraid people would laugh, doubt, reject me. I wasn't a preacher or a prophet. I was just a teenager. But he said, you will not be alone. Even when you feel alone, I will be with you, and the words will come. He told me that truth would find its way through me in the moments I least expected. In conversations, in quiet moments, in dreams. Some won't be ready to hear, he said, and that's okay. Your job isn't to convince. Your job is to witness, to plant seeds, to be a light. I nodded. Tears streamed down my face again, not because I was sad, but because I was full, completely full. And then, he did something I will never forget. He embraced me. It wasn't a hug like we know it here. It was something deeper. When he wrapped his arms around me, I felt every good thing I had ever experienced all at once. Every hug from my mother, every joyful laugh with my brother, every night falling asleep feeling safe, but magnified, multiplied, exponential love, beyond words. He poured love into every broken place in me. Love that reached backwards in time to my childhood wounds and forward into my future fears. Love that covered what I had done and what I hadn't done. I didn't want to let go, but he whispered, it's time. I felt a pulling sensation, not painful but swift. The light began to fade. The weight of the physical world returned. And then, pain. The pain was immediate. A crushing pressure in my chest. Sounds all around me. Sirens, voices, urgency. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. But I knew. I was back. The paramedic leaned over me and said, you're going to be okay, sweetheart. You're back with us now. I spent 3 days in the hospital. They said I'd suffered a sudden cardiac arrest from a previously undetected heart condition. I had been clinically dead for almost 4 minutes. 4 minutes on paper. But I had lived hours, lifetimes in that other place. They called it a miracle that Maddie had known CPR. They said I should have had brain damage, but I didn't. I came back with clarity, with memory, with purpose, and an ache, not from the pain, but from the longing to go back. When I finally got a moment alone, I told my dad the truth. Not the medical story, the real one. I was afraid he wouldn't believe me. He's always been the logical one, the man of reason. But when I finished, he was quiet. Then he took my hand and said, I've never told you this, but when I was in college, I was in a terrible car accident. I saw something too. Not like yours, but something. His eyes filled with tears. I've never stopped thinking about it. And in that moment, I understood something else. These experiences aren't as rare as we think. People don't talk about them because they're afraid. Afraid of being mocked, misunderstood, labeled. But these stories matter. They hold truth. And they are meant to be shared. If you've made it this far, thank you. Not just for listening, but for opening your heart to something deeper. I didn't come back from that experience to be worshipped or to become a story people tell at dinner parties. I came back because I was asked to share. Because someone out there, maybe it's you, needs to remember that there is more. More than pain. More than fear. More than the headlines and the heartbreak. There is love. And not just any love. Divine love. The kind that meets you in your darkest hour, that calls your name, that holds your soul together even when your body is breaking. That love is real. I stood in it, and I promise you, it's available for you too. You don't need to have a near-death experience to know that eternity is real. You don't have to wait for tragedy to start asking the deeper questions. You can seek now. You can choose now. Don't let another day pass without taking a moment, a real moment, to pause and ask yourself where your heart truly is. Are you prepared? Not just with supplies, but with truth, with faith, with love. Because when the waters rise and the lights go out and fear knocks at your door, it won't be your Wi-Fi password that saves you. It will be your connection to God, to others, to your truest self. So here's what I'm asking of you. If this story touched something in you, even if you're not sure what, don't ignore it. Let it lead you somewhere. Open a Bible. Sit in silence. Say a prayer, even if it feels awkward. Especially if it feels awkward. That's where most journeys begin. Ask Jesus to show himself to you. Not because you're trying to replicate my story, but because he wants to meet you in yours. And he will. He always does. His voice might not boom from clouds. It might come in a whisper, in a dream, in a moment of peace when everything else is chaos. But you'll know it, because love always leaves a mark. Inscrevasi no canal, and follow Jesus. This platform isn't just for stories. It's a place for seekers, for souls who want more than surface-level answers. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Share this video with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment with your thoughts, your questions, your prayers. We read them, we respond. This is not just a monologue, it's a community. And it's growing because people are waking up to something bigger than themselves. Be part of that. Be part of the light in the coming darkness. If you've ever felt like you're too broken, too lost, or too far gone to be reached by God, hear me clearly. You're not. There is no shame in the presence of perfect love. Only healing, only peace, only purpose. And it's not reserved for the perfect. It's poured out for the willing, for the hungry, for the heart that whispers, maybe, just maybe, there's more. I'm telling you, there is. I've seen it. And if he could call my name in that in-between space, he can call yours right now. All you have to do is listen. I don't know what your life looks like today. I don't know your pain, your doubts, or what you've been through. But I do know this. You're not alone, and you're not forgotten. You were created with intention. You were designed for love, and you're being invited, not pushed, not forced, invited into a relationship that will anchor you no matter what comes. If nothing else stays with you from this message, let this truth echo in your soul. You are deeply loved right now as you are, and you always have been. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for listening not just with your ears, but with your heart. I hope my story was more than just a narrative. I hope it became a mirror, a question, a light for your own journey. Wherever you are, I want you to know that I'm praying for you, that our stories have now touched, even if only through this screen. Keep seeking. Keep questioning, keep hoping, because beyond every shadow, there is a light, and beyond every fear, there is a love that never lets go. Until we meet again, stay strong, stay grounded, and never stop reaching for what's real.